Well, that's the way we've always done it. You've reached Talking with Dr. Terry, 180 Seconds to a Better You, message number 523, and I'm Dr. Terry Wurzbacher. So let's take a look at reconsidering the obvious. We tend to repeat behavior patterns we learned from others, usually way back in the beginning, our parents, siblings, teachers, etc. You may have heard the story before. This guy named Dave noticed that his wife Mary always trimmed the edges of a steak before cooking it. He was curious and he asked her, "Why do you cut off the edges before you cook it?" "I don't know. My mother always did it, so I just copied her." So Mary went to her mother and asked, "Why do you trim the steak before you cook it?" She goes, "I don't know. Your grandma always did that, so I just copied her." Both of them became curious, went to see Mary's grandma, and asked, "Why do you cut the edges off the steak before you cook it?" She goes, "I don't know why you two do it, but I used to trim it because my pan was too small." The story is funny, but maybe it's funny because it points to one of the major ways we think. We continue behaving in a way that might have made some sense once, but no longer does. We don't reconsider the obvious or challenge how we act or feel about things. Let me tell you, that's a big thing in the military. That's the way we always did it. So we hold on to our first impression and never let them go. We behave in ways that no longer make sense. So why do we behave like this? Why don't we reconsider what we believe? I've talked about reviewing your beliefs before. So why don't we do that to see if it makes sense or if it ever made any sense? What we do makes sense to us. What makes sense to us often includes thousands of behavior patterns we learned as children and never reconsidered for their helpfulness. They seem obvious to us. When something looks obvious, we don't examine it any further. So we keep repeating the patterns we have learned and practiced. Why bother to reconsider what seems obvious? Because not all obvious patterns are harmless. Many of these patterns are quite harmful and damage our character. Much of our anger, hatred, disappointment, and outrage is not well considered or even considered at all. Often we just react and respond out of habit. These harmful beliefs and thoughts arise and get hold of us because they seem to make sense, since we don't look very deeply at them. Therefore, they must be rational. A fair part of our emotional instability can be attributed to failure to look at the obvious. It's almost impossible to re-examine every belief we hold, like what side of the bed we should sleep on and get up on, which hand we use to brush our teeth, which shoe you put on first, all of those kind of things. So let's look at one type of reactions that seem obvious to us, and we'll examine the behaviors that arouse emotions. When we experience emotions, we feel justified in having them. The justification is our way of believing that what we believe is obviously true. Why don't you see that? When we feel this way, it's time to look at what seems obvious to us. I thought I could get it all in one message, but in order to do it justice, I'll finish it up on Monday. Have a diamond weekend.